Wow, love those graphics. That is pretty cool. Hey everybody, Rick Riordan, as you might have guessed. Thank you so much for joining me tonight on the release day for Wrath of the Triple Goddess, Percy's newest adventure. I am so happy to share it with you. I'm speaking to you tonight from Boston at home here at Athena House, so welcome to my home office. Yes, this is where the writer's block happens. So I'm glad to have you with me for Triple Goddess. We have a presentation today. It's going to tell you a little bit about the book, obviously, and what else is going on with me. So why don't we cue the presentation now? You'll have to excuse me because I'm going to be telling Harry, our digital director, like, next slide, please. So, that's a lot less annoying than me saying boop throughout the entire evening. So there I am. Apparently that's me. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. And apparently these are books that I've written. Hey, there it is now, Wrath of the Triple Goddess. What is this book about? Well, as some of you may know, I started writing new Percy Jackson adventures as part of my journey into the television world. I started with The Chalice of the Gods while we were working on season 1 of the new Percy Jackson TV show, and I started Wrath of the Triple Goddess while we were writing the scripts for season 2. What is happening here in Wrath of the Triple Goddess? To put it short, it's kind of a Halloween adventure. It happens at Hecat's mansion in New York, and Percy and friends, Annabeth and Grover, have to pet sit for the goddess. During Halloween week, what could possibly go wrong? What else can you expect? Well, whenever you have a polecat in the mix, I think it's only fair to start talking about the polecat. So we have a short video that introduces you to Gale, Hecat's pet polecat. So let's go ahead and watch that video now.
From enigma to exile, the legend of Gale is shrouded in mystery. But today, Gale has been granted human form to share her side of the tale. This is Gale, the Untold Story.
We grew up together, we played all the regular childhood games like the hoop, hopscotch, tossing walnuts.
So I already don't like kids. She was like most kids, but worse.
Here's the thing about people. They don't like different. And it was hard to deny that I was different.
She actually raised a human being from the dead. Others have tried it. They get a hand, they get a head, a foot.
Any doubt that Gale was a witch just went away that day. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
There's definitely something wrong with being a witch.
It was natural to me. I was great at it. I'll admit, maybe it got a little bit out of hand.
Sure, we chased Gale down and banished her. Am I proud of it? I don't know.
He said, "Who gave you permission to play God?" Well, Hecate. But at the time, it wasn't funny at all.
I've heard all sorts of things about what happened to her.
Between you and me, I heard she's not exactly human anymore.
While the rumors persisted about the strange witch girl for centuries, the mystery of her fate has now been solved.
I was out there running for my life, just jogging up this hill, out of breath. All these people were chasing after me. Cardio has never been my thing.
You think I turned her into a polecat? Oh, that's preposterous.
She said people aren't ready for a witch in their midst. You can come live with me, and I'll protect you. She didn't tell me I'd have to be a polecat.
Well, I could have picked a regular cat. It's so cliche. It's so been done. Polecat? Well, it's just so fun and squirmy.
We've been able to keep things pretty low-key here in New York City. I enjoy New York. I'm like the 5th weirdest thing anybody comes across on a given day.
Sure, people may think a polecat as a house pet is weird, but so are the alligators in the subway.
I finally fit in.
Ah, Gale, we do love you. Great video. That's the hard-hitting kind of drama I signed up to see. But there's a lot more happening in the series as well. It's not just about polecats. We also have a lot of other great characters that you will see. So let's go to the next slide. Eudora, everybody's favorite Nereid sea goddess who's also a school guidance counselor. We will see her again. We got her to see her first in the Chalice of the Gods with her seashell hairdo and her jar of Jolly Ranchers. Eudora may or may not be based on a school counselor I taught with many years ago. I'm not telling, although I guess I kind of just did. Next slide, please. We're also going to see the goddess herself. Now, there are several different ways to pronounce her name. The more correct Greek version is Hecate. I grew up with kind of the Shakespeare version, which is Hecate. So that's what I tend to say, but hey, you do you. She's not only the goddess of witchcraft and the goddess of crossroads and many other things, but she's also a proud pet owner. We've already seen that she has Gale the polecat, who was once a human witch. We'll find out even more about her in the book. And also because her other pet is a hellhound. Whenever you have dogs, I say, the more the merrier. So next slide, please. We're actually going to have 3 hellhounds in Wrath of the Triple Goddess. Yes, you'll see Hecuba, who hangs out in Hecate's mansion. You're also going to see your old friend, Mrs. O'Leary, Percy's friend. I love Mrs. O'Leary. And because that's not even enough, there's going to be a new hellhound in the mix, a puppy. Oh, it's just this big, fluffy, cute ball of nightmare. I can't wait for you to meet him. Lots and lots of hellhound happenings in this book. Also coming up, next slide, please, is this dude who's not quite so cuddly or fluffy, but is definitely just as much of a nightmare. This is Peter Stuyvesant, who is pretty famous in New York City. He was credited with pretty much building the first version of Manhattan. Now, as an architect to be, Annabeth Chase has always admired this guy and sort of held him up as an architectural role model. It would be a shame if something happened that would ruin that for Annabeth. Like if he were to, oh, I don't know, come back in this book and, well, as they say, never meet your architectural heroes. That's Peter Stuyvesant. A lot going on in this book. It was so fun to write. I hope you guys enjoy it. I had a blast. It's been so fun going back into Percy's voice. For quests that aren't, like, oh no, we have to save the world. It's more, oh no, I have to get into college, which if you've ever tried to apply for college, it's kind of the same thing. What else is going on in my world behind the scenes here? So let's go to the next slide and we'll talk a little bit about that. Well, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Rick Riordan Presents world, my imprint with Disney. And of course, we have to talk a little bit about what's going on in the television and film side, because that's also going on at the same time. So next slide, please, starting with the imprint. If you haven't heard me talk about this, or you're not quite sure what this is about, this has been going on for, wow, number of years now. It has been hugely successful, way past even my wildest hopes for it. Basically, the idea was that people would always ask me if I would write about different mythologies that I hadn't tried yet, like, I don't know, West African mythologies or Native American mythologies or some of the Asian mythologies. And usually I would say, I'm not really the best guy to do that. I mean, I love those mythologies, but I didn't like grow up with them, and I'm not sort of versed in them the way I grew up with, say, Greek mythology. I mean, I've known Greek myths since I was like a little kid. But you need an author who's from inside that culture, who really understands them. So the idea of Rick Riordan Presents was to turn the spotlight on those authors and say, if you want to read about West African mythology, for instance, here's this incredible author with West African heritage who knows these stories, but who can tell them to you in their own way, but in a way also that I can feel pretty comfortable saying, if you like the Percy Jackson approach with humor and action and stuff, you're going to love these. And sure enough, you guys have embraced these and read so many of them. They have been fantastic. And we are still going strong with new stuff coming out. Available right now, if we can go to the next slide, this is a sequel to Pahua and the Soul Stealer. It's Pahua and the Dragon Secret from Lori M. Lee. This is out now. Now, I love this because before I read Laurie's work, I knew like almost nothing about Hmong mythology. You just don't hear too much about it in the places that I've lived, but it's so fascinating. And honestly, if you want to be the biggest mythology nerd on your block, everybody knows the Greek myths. That's not impressive. But Hmong mythology, if you know about that, oh yeah, that's impressive. These are great books. If you just want a good adventure with a lot of magic, you need to check them out. And on the next slide, please, we also have totally night and day different from Pahua. This is a great novel from Judy Island that's coming out October 1st, just in time for the witching month. The Dark Becomes Her. Now, this is, first of all, it's set in Vancouver's Chinatown, and I've been spending a lot of time in Vancouver because we filmed there. I've gotten to know that neighborhood, so I had a lot of fun picturing what was happening in the book while I was reading this. This is not middle grade. This is not necessarily, I wouldn't say, like your lighthearted Percy-style humorous romp. This is more young adult horror about demonic possession. So if you like your stuff a little darker, a little aged up, more of the YA stuff, and you're into being scared witless, oh yeah, this is your Halloween read right here. So check it out when it comes out. And next slide. We also have another great sequel coming out. Now you got to wait for this one. It doesn't come out till February. But if you didn't read the first book, you should. A Drop of Venom by Sajani Patel. It's a reimagining of the myth of Medusa from Medusa's point of view. But it also is inspired by Indian folklore and mythology. It is so good. Again, this is more YA. It hits hard and it's really great. A lot of good love story going on, a lot of magic, really, really deep stuff that she's talking about in here. And now she's turning to another Greek myth and fusing that with Indian lore, A Touch of Blood, which is her take on the Persephone myth. Again, can't say enough good things about this. So if that sounds like your jam, you need to check it out. And going back to the more of the middle grade side on the next slide, is the new one from Roseanne A. Brown. I love Rosie Brown. She is just the best. I got to sit with her and have dinner with her on our last tour, and we were just laughing and talking about all the books we've read. She's amazing. She has done a series on the character Surwa Boateng, who is of Ghanaian ancestry living in the States, and she discovers that her family is involved in vampire hunting. Now, when I say vampires, I am not talking about Dracula. I'm not talking about those weak European vampires. I'm talking vampires from Ghana. They are so much worse, so much scarier, so much cooler. The first couple of books have been out, and the next one comes out April 8th. Surwa's Guide to Saving the World. I love those covers too. Can't wait. If you're not reading these yet, check them out. I guarantee you, you're going to love them. Next slide. Also publishing. If you're curious and you're looking for other titles from me, there's some supplementary stuff that's coming out. So next slide, an example of that would be the House of Hades graphic novel. Disney Publishing heard you when you said you wanted us to complete the series of graphic novels for the Heroes of Olympus. They're on it. And this one is out now, the House of Hades. Looking great. And I can tell you already as a sneak peek, I have seen the art for the next one. It's going to be fantastic as well. Also available on the next slide is the Percy Jackson and the Olympian official cookbook. Now, as a guy who can't make much more than French toast and chalupas and maybe a peanut butter sandwich, I am not the best guy to be doing a cookbook. Fortunately, they didn't ask me to write this, but it has great recipes inspired from everybody's favorite, Sally Jackson, and other campers in this. So if you're looking to make a Percy Jackson-based meal, this is your go-to guide. It's a beautiful book, too. I love it. Well, that's about what's coming up on the publishing side, but on the next slide, hello, Bear. What's going on in Vancouver, British Columbia? Well, there's a whole lot of filming happening in Vancouver. Next slide will tell you what I'm talking about. As if you didn't know, Percy Jackson and the Olympians, we are underway with a new season. Now, please, when you look at this graphic, remember this is from last year. This is for season 1. So when you see December 20th, don't get excited. That was the release date for season 1. That doesn't mean anything for season 2. However, we are working very, very hard on it. I was just on set last week. It's going swimmingly, if I can say that about Percy Jackson. Sure, why not? Next slide will give you a look at that. That is the first little teaser poster that they put out. It's the Camp Half-Blood flag, and it's kind of looks like it's been through some things. Some fire, maybe a shipwreck. What could that be about? And there's Percy ready to go chariot racing. That's going to be pretty amazing. The only thing I can tell you about dates right now is that it's going to be streaming 2025. So you won't have to wait forever. It's just going to feel like it. What else can I tell you about what's going on? Well, next slide. We had a chance to go down to D23, the big Disney convention down in Anaheim, California, a while back. And it was early days. I mean, we had literally been on the set filming for 2 days when we did this convention. And they said, well, what can you show us for a teaser trailer? It's like, well, I mean, not a lot. But they did put together an amazing trailer nonetheless. It's very impressive. It does give you the tiniest taste. So let me show you what they showed exclusively first at D23. Let's roll the video.
My name is Percy Jackson. I am a demigod. Monsters come at me. So did the gods. Last year, I had to stop a war. But that is just the beginning.
Oh man, I have to tell you, I've seen that a number of times now. It still gives me chills. So good. Has Walker's voice changed a little bit? Perhaps, but that's just part of the deal. I can tell you that he is a little taller and he looks a little older, but he is still amazing and just killing it as Percy Jackson. It is so much a pleasure to watch him become that character. So let's go to the next slide and I'll tell you a little bit more. This is what the cast is looking like these days. That is me, obviously, in the back, and the 3 main actors when we were at D23. There's our friend Lee Jeffries, who plays Annabeth Chase, and Ariane Samadri, who plays Grover Underwood, along with Walker. We had such an awesome time at that conference. It was great to see them all again. It just felt like it had been too long since we were able to sit down and start filming. So to be able to do that again, I love seeing these kids and their families. They're like part of my family now. And we just can't say enough good things about them. But we do also have, in addition to our cast coming back, some new additions that are equally exciting. Let's go to the next slide. You may have heard about this, but we have found our Tyson, our Cyclops half-brother of Percy Jackson. Now, this is not a spoiler if you guys have read The Sea of Monsters, and it's really not much of a spoiler anyway, but Tyson's a very important character in the 2nd season, as he is in the 2nd book. And this is Daniel Deemer, who took on the role. Daniel is amazing. I've gotten to hang out with him a little bit and watch so many of the audition tapes he did for us. Daniel is pretty incredible. He has this really, like Tyson, this sort of gentle giant kind of vibe going. He's so kind and so generous, and he gets along with the younger actors just really, really well. He's such a big brother, and he's just amazing. When I hear him reading Tyson, uh, wow, I just get tears in my eyes. He's so good at capturing that spirit. I can't wait for you guys to see him. And by the way, the technology they're using to make the Cyclops eye, it's next level. It's cutting edge. So good. Also, this season, next slide, please. We have this gentleman who will be our interim activities director for the summer, Tantalus. He will be chasing a number of donuts, I am sure. That's Tim Simons. You may recognize him for many great programs, including Veep. So I can't wait to see him and what kind of tortures he has in store for our demigods. Speaking of torturing demigods, next slide, please. The Grey Sisters were recently announced, and here are our 3 Grey Sister taxi drivers, Sandra Bernard, Kristen Shaw, and Margaret Cho. This is one of the scenes I got to be on set for a couple of weeks ago. So I got to see the scene with them and Annabeth and Percy and Tyson being filmed. And, you know, as you can imagine, they have to do a lot of takes of every scene. And then they have to do it from a different angle and a different angle and then a close-up angle. So, I mean, by the time they have this scene all filmed, they've got like hours of footage of just this one little scene. And they can sort of pick which angle they want for what part. So I got to know the scene really well. And even though I heard it, I don't know how many times, I was still laughing. It was so funny to see the characters interact together. So again, just can't wait to share this new take on the Grey Sisters with you. And exciting news just dropped yesterday. I have been really trying not to say anything about this because it's just so exciting. And it's hard not to mention it, but finally they said that I could talk about it. We have our Thalia Grace. Next slide, please. Oh, wait, what? That's not Thalia. Oh, you know what? I think this is before we added that slide in. Well, if you want to see her picture, that's all good. You can find it on my website. If you just go to rickriordan.com, you can find it on social media, but I can certainly tell you about Tamara Smart, who is our Thalia Grace. Now, where to start? Okay, first of all, as with most of the primary characters, Thalia is, I mean, she's a fan favorite. We had to get it right. We had to find the perfect person. So we saw literally thousands of tapes come in from all over the world, every kind of Thalia you can imagine. And then our casting directors go through them and kind of sort them and say, okay, here, producer people, these are our favorites. See what you think. You can look at the other ones too, but these are kind of the ones we thought were sort of in the zone. We went through hundreds of those, and then we narrowed it down, kept looking at them, and, you know, it's a long process, and all the people that submitted tapes were great and so much talent, but we had to find just the right chemistry, just the right tone for Thalia. She's a rebel. She's got this kind of punk sensibility going, and we had to make sure we nailed that. Now, I wasn't sure where we would end up, but one audition tape really came to the top for Becky and me. I didn't know Tamara Smart, but when we watched her tape, we said to each other, wow, she's good. I think that may be my favorite one yet. So that's what we told the other producers. Then the other producers said, do you know her backstory? And I said, no, what backstory? I had no idea. Tamara Smart worked with Lance Reddick, who was our Zeus for season 1. She's been with him in other shows too. She was his daughter in Resident Evil, which I saw and loved and totally didn't make the connection. But she has been Lance Reddick's protege, and he has mentored her and supported her career. And as you may know, tragically, Lance Reddick passed away very unexpectedly right after he finished filming for Percy Jackson. It was such a gut punch for all of us because he's so nice and so good. So to get Tamara, who knew Lance and really had kind of a father-daughter relationship with him, and to think about her playing the daughter of Zeus, that seemed so right and it seemed so powerful that I kind of couldn't believe it. It was like a Hollywood story in itself. It didn't help that she was already my top pick. I mean, it didn't hurt. It was incredible. Everything just came together, and we are so lucky to have her. She is British too, and she said, "Well, should I do it in an American accent?" And we tried it both ways, and we said, "No, just be yourself." Because, hey, punk was born in England, right? Who could be more punk? So we have our British Thalia, and she is outstanding. We were together in Vancouver on set with the rest of the cast. We were doing a table read with the other young actors for some of the scripts in season 2. And for the first time, I got to see them interact in person together as they read through the scripts. It was so good. And it also helps that the kids just genuinely like each other. I mean, everybody is part of the Percy family now. They support each other. It's wholesome, it's pure, it's positive. Everybody likes coming to work every day. I mean, it's really amazing. So this slide is just to say, if you haven't, for whatever reason, read The Sea of Monsters, well, now is your chance. You can do that before you see season 2. Next slide, please. One last book to tell you about, coming in June, which is a while away, but if you want to whet your appetite for the upcoming season and go into the Gods and the Monsters, Disney's putting out a new guide to Gods and Monsters from Percy Jackson, and it will be yours to peruse during the summertime while we were all waiting impatiently for the season to drop. Woo, that's a lot. Next slide, please, however. Would you like one more sneak peek? I have not announced this yet anywhere. You are hearing about it for the first time in this event. We are partnering with our friends on the bookseller side to produce this in time for the season. Next slide. It is the Sea of Monsters Deluxe Collector's Edition. You may have heard me talk about the Lightning Thief Deluxe Collector's Edition when it came out last year and how beautiful it was. It's got all the bells and whistles. It's got the gilt edged pages. It's got the illustrations inside. It's got the end paper. It's got, you name it. And I joke that, it's so cool and so high end, I can't afford it. But if you can, fantastic. This is the same thing, continuing the collector's edition. If you're one of those people that just has to have the best of the best of the best when you're buying books, and you can afford this beauty, woo, go for it. You can see the link probably in your chat right now. Barnes & Noble has got you covered, and you can certainly order it from them. And when it's out, fall 2025, you can show this puppy off. That brings me to my favorite part of any kind of event that I ever do, which is hearing questions that you guys have. Now, I know the event's virtual, and we don't get that cool energy that you get when we're all together, and I love that. And I'm sorry we can't reproduce that. We also can't get to everybody's question because I hear we had what, like over 600 questions submitted. But I do understand that the team at Barnes & Noble and Disney put together some really good ones for me to look at. I have not seen these yet, so I'm going to be answering these cold, but let's see what you got. Okay, I've got them up here. So this is from Kaylee in California. Oh, by the way, I should say before I start this, if you're wondering when your book is going to arrive, it will be shipped immediately after this happens, and I am told, should expect it in about 8 to 10 business days. So I think it'll be worth the wait. I hope so. Thank you guys for your orders. Okay, anyway, Kaylee from California says, do you have any plans to continue the PGAO world after this trilogy? P.S. I've loved your books for 15 years. Wow! Revisiting them again as an adult, wow, has been a gift. Thank you for sharing it with the world. Thank you, Caleb. Wow, that is a lot of commitment, and I am so honored that you've stuck with the books so long and still love them as an adult. They can be for kids, they can be for adults. I usually just say, look, if you enjoy the book, you're the right age. So whatever that means, I support it. To your question, I don't have any direct plans to continue with Percy's story after this. That's not saying that I won't do it. I'm just not sure what direction it might take and what that will look like. As you are no doubt aware, I've been really busy with the TV side of things and working on other projects that are based on other books of mine that are, kind of in early stages so far. But all I can tell you right now is I'm not going to retire from writing. Like, what would I do? I mean, I don't play golf. I mean, I love writing. There's no reason for me to stop if I'm still enjoying it. As long as you guys are still enjoying the books and I enjoy writing them, why wouldn't I keep going? What I'll write? Oh gosh, I don't know. I have so many ideas. It's really not a question of what to write next so much as it is that, how much time do I have and how many of these ideas can I get to? So all I can say right now is stay tuned and thank you for reading. This is from Justin in New Hampshire. Hey, right up the road from me. What is one of my favorite non-trio characters to write? Justin asked. Oh, well, I mean, Tyson the Cyclops is on my mind. And I have been working on that so much with season 2 that Tyson is the first person that comes to mind. But they all are great. I have so much fun writing from their different points of view. But yeah, I'll go with Tyson tonight. Natalie in Vermont, also right up the road. Natalie would like to know, did you ever think that the Percy Jackson universe would be as big and popular as it is now? Absolutely not. It blows my mind. I mean, you got to remember, this started as a bedtime story for my kid when he was like 9. He's 30 now. That blows my mind. But the fact that we're still here talking about these books so many years later, I'm still writing them and you guys are still reading them and enjoying them. And it's been this amazing, supportive, incredible community. I had no idea. I mean, I can only assume that the story was personal for me, but that personal story resonated with other people and continues to resonate. And that's amazing. It's an honor. But no, I never expected it. Josh from Illinois would like to ask, what has been my favorite part of writing the new Percy Jackson trilogy compared to the original series and the Heroes of Olympus series? Part of it was when I started writing this new Percy Jackson trilogy, it had been a long time actually since I'd written from Percy's point of view, like first person classical Percy Jackson style. I was a little nervous. I didn't know if I could do it. But that was fun. That was a great challenge getting back into that voice. And I found it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Probably because Percy and I share so much personality and voice anyway. I mean, he's like a part of my family now. He's like my third son. So it was really easy to get back into that. But I will say, I didn't ever think I was going to write about a 17, 18-year-old Percy. I found, though, that it was really nice because Percy has a little more ability now to talk things through and like process and be empathetic and talk about some pretty deep stuff, pretty mature stuff that he didn't necessarily get to talk about when he was, say, 12. He had other things on his mind, like not dying. So that was really nice to take it from a slightly different angle. He's still Percy. He's just older now. All right, Christopher from New York. All right, Percy's home territory. Would ask, how has the development of Percy Jackson Season 2 affected how you've begun writing future books in Percy Jackson, and how do you see it affecting the next book? Great question. Well, I have to be honest. I mean, the two things cross-pollinate, and they affect each other, the TV show and the books. Writing the Wrath of the Triple Goddess while we were working on Season 2 scripts, I had Season 1 in my head, and Walker and Ariane and Leah are so good at embodying those characters, Percy, Annabeth, and Grover, that I heard their voices in my mind. And it melded with what I normally do, and it became part of my process. Their characters informed my characters, And that was so great. I loved that. Now, sometimes you see, a movie or a TV show and it's not the way you imagined. And I get that. That has happened to me a few times. But when you have a performance, on the other hand, that's so strong that it adds to your understanding of the characters, that's a pretty incredible experience. And that's the experience I've had with the TV show. So, we were working on 2 sequels, season 2 and book 2. And I think when you read Triple Goddess, you'll find that there's a lot of overlap, a lot, maybe not like content wise, but tonally. There's a lot of overlap between the 2. All right, Tori from Colorado would like to say, is it hard to keep up with writing for the original generation of readers while also catering along with the new generation of readers? Yeah, it's a great point, Tori. Like we were talking about earlier, some of you folks have been reading this for 15 years. I have readers who started as adults or young adults or college age, and now they've got kids of their own. It's always, even back in 2005, it was a really, really large spectrum of ages that read the books. Like I said earlier, if you like it, you're the right age for it. So I try not to think too much about that, or I would probably, just get myself a headache, like, okay, who am I writing this for? On the other hand, I was a middle school teacher, remember. That's my sweet spot. That's who I always imagine in my head when I'm writing. I'm back in my classroom and I'm seeing my 6th graders in front of me. And I'm saying, okay, how can I tell a story that is really cool and engaging and fun for them, maybe even teaches them a thing or two about mythology, but they love it, without losing their attention. And that's where my head is. So I don't ever think I'm going to say, okay, now I will write a book for 21-year-olds or something like that. However, if you're 21 and you still enjoy reading the books, I hope that there's enough universal kind of appeal there that you're going to find something fun and something entertaining. If nothing else, I hope it's like a chance to visit with old friends. All right, going to Clyde, who's in Arizona. Right, God, everybody, we got so many people. I think every state in the union is represented here. I'm just looking down the list. That's incredible. Clyde says, what has been my favorite part of the journey that these books have brought me on? Oh my goodness. Every time I meet somebody who says, wow, this is the book that got me into reading, or I have a friend and this book got them through a really tough time. Anytime somebody shares a personal story with me like that, that means so much to me. And I don't sometimes get to tell like each of you individually how much you mean to me, but it's really true. As a former teacher, as a parent myself, wow, thinking that the books helped and did something for you, that's why I get up in the morning. That means the world to me. So, and by the way, so many people on set for Percy Jackson have stories like that. They all came to this, whether they're, I don't know, cameramen, or whether they're caterers, or whether they're the crew or the producers or the actors. They all have stories like that. I had to work on the show because my daughter read Percy Jackson, or I had to work on this because I have a cousin who just told me this is their favorite book. It's incredible how many stories are like that. All right, so going to Georgia now for Katie. Did you ever expect to write more stories about Percy, Annabeth, and Grover? Has it been enjoyable going back? Totally. It is incredibly enjoyable for me to do that. And I talked a little bit about why I got into this. It started as sort of inspiration for thinking about the television show. But yeah, I'm so glad I did it. It's been a lot of fun. Okay. Madeline from California says, do you ever feel discouraged when you write, and how do you address that? Oh, Madeline, goodness. I think every writer is different. And I think if you asked 20 different authors about their process, they would give you 20 answers. But I'm pretty sure the one thing we could all agree on is, oh yeah, we get discouraged. Of course we have writer's block. I think after a while, you have to learn that getting discouraged and getting blocked, that also is part of the process. You just have to work through it. I never, well, I don't say never, but almost never have a day when I just sit down and it's just flowing. I'm writing everything. I'm not stopping. Everything's cool. No, and you don't have that. I stop, I stare into space. I'm like, what do I do with this page? And it happens to all of us. But you get up, you walk around, you do something else, you'll find that those ideas are still churning back there. You're still writing, even if you're not putting words down with the keyboard. So best advice, don't give up. That's really what it comes down to. All right, let's get to a couple more. We have Catherine from New Jersey wants to ask, what was the inspiration reasoning for using Hecate? I'm glad to see her, especially since we got a little bit of her in Heroes of Olympus and Son of Magic. Yeah, you're right. I love Hecate. She is not a character I spend a lot of time with. I love the fact she's got pets. That's very rare with the gods. Like they all have sacred animals, but pets. Hecate has that. I also love that she's, of course, the goddess of crossroads and magic and witchcraft. And I knew that this was a book that was going to be set around October, the fall in Percy's senior year. So like, well, of course, we have to have the Halloween book and do a book about Hecate. I mean, it just made sense. Plus, I was talking with somebody about this earlier. It was kind of cool to me that she's the goddess of crossroads. And what is Percy facing in his senior year? A lot of crossroads. What's going to happen next? What's going to happen with him and Annabeth? Are they going to get into college together? What's that going to look like? How is that going to be for Grover if they're on different coasts and they can't see each other every day? A lot going on. All right, and let's see. Alicia from Ohio would like to ask, is there any potential for a sequel to Daughter of the Deep? Glad you asked. That, if you are not familiar with it, was my only foray so far into science fiction. It was an homage to Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, one of my favorite stories. And I updated and wrote about Anna Dakar, who's a descendant of Captain Nemo. And, well, I'm not going to tell you much more than that if you haven't read it yet. It's a standalone novel. It was meant to be. And it was great. It did really, really well. I would love to go back to that world. But then again, I say that about all my worlds, like Magnus Chase. I'd love to do more Magnus Chase. Kane Chronicles, absolutely. I'd love to revisit that too. All of these things, I just have so much fun writing them. Again, it comes back to, yeesh, how much time am I going to have? And when am I going to find the opportunity to do that? And honestly, right now, I don't know the answer. Percy World is keeping me 100% engaged at the moment, and I'm not complaining. I love it. But we'll see. I'd love to see Anna Dakar and friends again. All right, let's do one more. What is my favorite? This is from Linnea in Minnesota. What is your favorite Persebeth scene that I have written, and what type of Persebeth scene do you want to hopefully write in the future? I would have to say that, honestly, my favorite Persebeth scenes are in the new series because they're a little bit older. They have kind of grown into their relationship over the last, for them, it's been like 2 years. And that's something I can relate to because, as some of you may know, their relationship is very much based on my relationship with my wife, Becky. We got together in high school when we were 16, and we've been together ever since. Now, it doesn't work that way for everybody. I'm very aware, but that relationship is so fundamental to me that it just feels really right and natural to write about Percy and Annabeth, kind of having the same dynamic. And yes, Becky is absolutely my wise girl and lets me know when I'm, being a little thick and I'm not thinking about things correctly. As far as actual favorite scenes, wow. It's the little stuff. I really love, there's a sweet moment where they're at their different places. They're in New York, but Annabeth's in her dorm room and Percy's at home in the apartment. And they're iris messaging with each other, and they're just just sitting on the bed and with the holographic boyfriend girlfriend next to them, and just how was your day? I just love that. I thought that was really kind of a slice of life that I can imagine them doing. Well, you guys, it has been such a pleasure to talk with you tonight. Thank you so much. I'm going to let you go with that. A reminder that Barnes & Noble is shipping your books, and you should get them soon. I so hope you enjoy Wrath of the Triple Gods, and when it comes out, season 2 of the Percy Jackson Show, and I hope I'll see you soon. Thanks, everybody.